Hello, dear friends. It's me, Natalia Kolodenko, psychologist, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker. Today, we will discuss the fear of failure, as it's one of the main obstacles on the path to wealth. Get used to this word wealth. It's a good word, signifying abundance and prosperity. We will talk about what attracts money and how to create a sales funnel. This lecture is likely one of the most content-rich, so be attentive, break it down into points, and analyze it over and over so that the information starts working for you. So, the first thing I want to address is that the fear of failure is present in many people. Let's explore the types of failure that can occur. Firstly, some believe that to start their own business, they need a large initial capital. I want to say that this is not true. For example, when I started my business, I had no investments, only my intellect and desire. Yes, I studied and spent a significant portion of my income on education, because I understood that only knowledge in the field of marketing would allow me to sell my skills and abilities. However, it's important to understand that often people, when buying courses, expect that just touching the material will work miracles in their lives. But for that, you need to open up not only your mind but also your heart. Transformation happens when you start acting in accordance with the information you've received. Let me give you an example. Suppose you attended a weight loss course, and they told you how to eat properly. You listened, took notes, but continue eating as you did before. Of course, the issue is not with the course, but with how you applied that knowledge. Why does this happen? Because there wasn't enough realization, or perhaps you lack the right environment. 50% of success is your environment. If the people around you lead an unhealthy lifestyle, no matter what courses you take, their effect may fade over time. This explains why, after some time post-course, motivation and inspiration decrease. This is normal. There are no courses that can keep you in a state of constant inspiration and desire to act forever. I've come across many articles on this topic, stating that trainings are ineffective because, after a few days of inspiration, people return to their usual environment full of negative attitudes. However, in my life, trainings have played a key role. I became wealthy because I learned how to sell, how to spend, and how to think. Without this, I cannot imagine how one can progress, especially if you are surrounded by people with a negative mindset. So, I want to emphasize that to start your business or increase your income, you don't necessarily need a large initial capital. Many are afraid that if they don't have several $1,000s, they will fail, and they take out loans. However, this doesn't necessarily lead to success. If a person doesn't have an entrepreneurial mindset, they may spend faster than they earn and invest money in the wrong places. I advocate for gradual development rather than extreme measures, where a person comes up with an idea in the morning and becomes a millionaire by lunchtime. Gradual development allows you to scale as a person in line with your new goals. Here's an example. When I was losing weight, my beautician helped me with wraps so that my skin would tighten and stretch marks wouldn't appear. At some point, I became very involved in the weight loss process, but my beautician warned me that if I continued to lose weight at such a pace, my skin wouldn't adapt in time, and stretch marks would appear. The same thing happens with money. The psyche may not keep up with your growth, so it's not worth making radical investments. I support decisiveness and sometimes leaps in consciousness, but within reason. Recently, one of my clients said something very important. The truth really works for us indeed. When you start telling the truth to yourself and those close to you, it initially causes hurt. You might feel hurt yourself because you have to admit that maybe you're lazy, not doing enough, or wasted another day. It's unpleasant, but when you acknowledge why this happens, it becomes easier. Admitting that you wasted a day helps you start to understand the reasons for your failures. When you stop wasting time and stop torturing yourself with perfectionism, everything will begin to change. Perfectionism is the second reason for the fear of failure. People fear not only losing money but also making mistakes. They're afraid of judgment or ridicule. Let me give you an example. When I decided to participate in the Dancing with the Stars project, my brother said, "Natasha, dancing and you are incompatible." The director of the TV project I was working on was even harsher. "You'll look like a cow on ice. Don't embarrass yourself." In short, everyone said no. But I thought, great boots, I've got to have them, and I realized I was on the right path. This image of great boots is brilliant. It speaks to the idea that if you're not ready to irritate and stand out, you will never achieve outstanding results. This doesn't mean you need to wear ridiculous hats and entertain everyone around you. It means moving forward in harmony with yourself, not because others are doing it, but because you feel it inside. Speaking of the fear of failure, I want to point out that it is often connected to a person's fantasies. People think, I'll do this, and here's what will happen, I'll fail, I'm all for the principle of reality. Have you tried doing it? Have you already had a negative experience? On what basis did you decide that you would fail? Did you do anything to succeed? I highlight several important points. First, you need to make more attempts. Any failure is a pattern. Nothing is achieved on the first try. Those who make more attempts, whether in swimming or cycling, ultimately succeed. If a person gets upset after the first failure, it's not about the fear of failure, it's about not understanding that you need to develop a skill. In this case, it's the skill of selling, because money only comes at the moment of a sale. If I sell today, it's at that very moment that I create a flow of money toward me. If I stop selling, the money stops coming in. Next, there's the theory of passive income, which I view very negatively. I know very few examples of reasonable passive income. For instance, buying an apartment for $50,000 and renting it out for $200, I don't consider that income, let alone passive income. If those $50,000 were wisely invested in a business, they could bring in $1,000, $3,000 a month, not $200. In most cases, stories about passive income are an illusion. Even billionaires go to work. Yes, many of their processes are automated, but passive income is only possible if you set up the system yourself. The idea that someone else will do it for you is a myth. If you learn to earn decent money on your own, you'll be able to figure out how to make at least some of that money work for you, maybe through employees, assistants, or partners. But the notion that money will simply come without your involvement is an illusion. I also want to share an observation. People often say they'll open a cafe, as if it's simple. But you need to understand that opening a cafe requires significant investment and effort. Earning enough to cover utilities, cleaning, the cashier's salary, and taxes is far from easy. That's why it's important to scale your thinking and actions to bring money into your life. So, here are the 3 pillars of successful thinking for a wealthy person, a person who has earned their wealth not through fear, but through inspiration. These are principles I've been learning for many years and sometimes successfully apply. First, don't make excuses. Write this down and follow this rule. Every time someone says something like, "You don't have business cards," don't make excuses about how you ordered them but didn't pick them up. Don't justify, don't lie, just acknowledge the remark. Excuses are a path to utopia, they make you vulnerable. You don't have to be good for everyone. Sometimes, to do something good for yourself, you have to let others think poorly of you. If you can't set boundaries even within your family, how can you talk about scaling up? Learn to tell the truth. Maybe not the whole truth, but at least most of it. Never make excuses. If someone makes a remark, even if they're incompetent, don't rush to convince them otherwise. Let people think badly of you. This is the lot of strong people, and not everyone can do it. Give yourself homework on each point, how not to make excuses and what to say in response to remarks so that you're prepared. When we encounter a certain situation, we often get confused and don't know how to respond properly. For example, your mother-in-law or mother visits and says, "Your dishes aren't washed," and you start making excuses. "I was in a hurry, rushing around, wiping the floor." Instead, you should say, "Yes, my dishes aren't washed. If you want, you can wash them. This doesn't mean you don't care or that you should live in filth." Sometimes there are people whose remarks help us sober up and see the situation differently. Honestly, I also speak directly to my close circle if I see they're ready to hear and change something in themselves. You dress terribly, you speak terribly, or you're overdoing it. However, to those who live in their virtual reality where everything is perfect, I say nothing. For example, if someone takes a picture in front of a carpet wearing patent leather boots and is completely pleased with themselves, there's no point in wasting words. They're not ready to hear criticism, and in the end, they'll always justify any failures in their life. Here, I want to recommend Brian Tracy's book, No Excuses: The Power of Self-Discipline. The tendency to make excuses is a sign of a teenage state when a person still doesn't feel confident in themselves. If you've decided to change something, do it quietly and don't prove anything to anyone. The next important rule: don't judge. We often easily join in conversations about who did what wrong, who lives how, who made a mistake. But judgment often hides envy or boredom. Why should I discuss some British maniac if I'm busy with real work? Talking about who got divorced can only be relevant if it has practical value for you. If you're discussing negative situations, especially those involving people you don't know personally, you're taking on their problems. Want to do that? Good luck, but it's definitely not about money. The third pillar of successful thinking is not to complain. Don't whine and say, "I would have done it, but the economy is like this. The politics are like that, no one cares." We live in this century with these conditions, exchange rates, political and environmental situations. Yesterday was one story, today is another. We accept the rules of the game as they are and look for strengths within them. The faster someone finds a way to earn in a difficult situation, the more ingenious they are. I remember when I arrived in Venice, it started raining, and as if out of nowhere, people appeared selling umbrellas. While we were getting wet and complaining, they were making money. For every problem, think about how you can help others and earn from it. The world will always face problems, and these problems can become your source of income. Be glad for problems, as they give you the opportunity to solve them and get paid for it. So, don't judge, don't make excuses, and don't complain. These are 3 principles worth writing down and carrying with you to remind yourself every day. Start noticing how often you break these rules, and mark it with a check. When I took a course that taught this, we would fine ourselves for every excuse, complaint, or judgment. Each check was worth $1, and at the end of the day, you would donate that money to charity or simply throw it away. To understand that excuses, complaints, and judgments destroy money not only in your life but in the world as well. If you adhere to these principles, it will be easier for you to move forward, and you will have less fear of failure. Now, let's talk about how to create a sales funnel and what's needed for it. I'll share generalized ideas that work for everyone, but remember that each situation has its nuances. Let me give an example with courses. Suppose I teach a course on design, and you want to renovate your apartment. I explain which wallpapers are trendy, what color sofa to choose, and how to match things. But when you look at your apartment, half of these rules might not apply. That's normal. It's the same with money courses. Half of the advice might not be entirely suitable. That's why the most valuable aspect of learning is individual work. When you pay for a consultation that's tailored to your specific needs, it's like a dress made to your measurements. For creating a sales system, it's important to understand the following 3 aspects. 1. Awareness. Make a decision about what you are selling and don't be afraid of the word selling. Selling means gaining from your actions. For example, I recently launched the Kolodenko shopping project, where I help people buy interior items and clothes. What am I charging for? For the service of sourcing and purchasing items that may escape the client's attention, but are truly valuable. I negotiate with boutiques to provide us with items not on display, and I sell them at a good price. 2. System. Build a system in which you will offer your services or products regardless of circumstances. As soon as you stop selling, the money stops coming in. For example, in Kolodenko shopping we find luxury items at good prices and deliver them to clients. But if we stop, there will be no sales. 3. Analysis. Constantly study your client's behavior, their preferences, and reactions. This will help you better understand what and how to sell. By following these 3 principles, you will be able to create an effective sales system and move forward. So, all this movement, shipping, sending items is actually a lot of work. When I did it myself, I realized what a huge effort it is. Even just going, taking photos, reading the materials, understanding the size, figuring out what it pairs well with, it's truly a massive job that people who have never done it don't appreciate. Therefore, awareness is understanding the value you provide to your customer. You won't feel guilty about earning money if you understand the value you're giving. Most people don't understand the value of their services, products, knowledge, and skills, and that's why, when they earn money from someone, they might feel ashamed. This shame, as if you're some kind of profiteer for earning money, is very dangerous. It's almost like a death sentence, fearing that someone will find out how much you earned from them. We have a habit of counting other people's money. For example, a friend of mine in Italy typically earns 10% of the cost of an item. There was a moment when I started calculating, okay, if the item costs $250, she earns EUR 25. But when you buy something like a gold bracelet for EUR2500 and she earns EUR2500 and she earns EUR250 from it, greed kicks in. I started observing myself. I don't scold myself for my dark sides, but I do observe interesting. Why did greed come into play? Because greed is a path to poverty. As soon as you start counting other people's money, and people often count like this, they take your earnings and multiply it by the number of potential sales. So, if she sold 10 items at EUR250 each, she earned EUR250. And if she sold 5 items at EUR2500 each, she earned EUR1000 in a day. Wow, but this is an ignorant calculation. The great accountants of the world, as I call them, just multiply by 10, and that's it. But no one considers that during the quarantine, she somehow made it to another country, booked a hotel there, visits boutiques, spends money on gas, on lodging, and risks how she'll return. So, it's never pure profit. Don't count other people's money because, firstly, it devalues your own money, and secondly, you should only count other people's money to admire and be inspired by it. For instance, if I learn that, say, Buzova earned $1 million, I think, great. That means I can earn $1 million too, but if you think, oh, she's dumb, does nothing, and earns $1 million, then that's it, you've crossed out your chance of becoming richer. The moment you criticize someone else's high income, you kill within yourself the mindset of a wealthy person. You don't admire it, you don't learn from them, and that's why you'll never have easy money. You'll only have money earned under difficult conditions. We have such a tendency to count other people's money because we don't understand how the person achieved it. It's not our business how they did it. Our business is to admire and learn. So, what is awareness? Awareness for creating a sales funnel is when you take a product, service, knowledge, or skill that you have and describe in detail what value it holds. Open up a thesaurus, use your imagination, sit down, and write in detail what value you're providing. What value do I offer when I make sales in Kolodenko shopping? I clearly understand the value I give people the opportunity to buy items cheaper, for example, branded items from my friends, which are really good things that some woman might not be able to buy in the next 10 years. It's as if she teleports in space, raising her material status. Or I give access to luxury items that are generally unavailable, and they're not sold openly at such prices. Or I offer affordable items from our local manufacturers. In other words, I provide value, and the person can buy a whole set. They didn't just buy a sweater, they know what to pair it with. This is an educational project. I understand the 5 points of value that I provide through this project. I can talk for 2 hours about the value I offer as a consultant at EUR250 per hour. Very clearly and in detail. But at one point, I sat down and wrote it all out. Rule number 1: awareness in sales. You must understand the value that people receive when they give you their money. If you understand this value well, and for this, you simply need to take the time to sit down, imagine, write, think about it. Like, for example, I'm an elementary school teacher. What value do I provide? I can show a child their abilities in a calm psychological environment, show that education can give them a foundation, a base they will use throughout their life. This includes the skills to write, read, and do math. Plus, I can highlight their strengths and help them figure out which subjects they are likely to enjoy the most in the future, and which will become the basis of their profession. You need to learn this through practice. Many people avoid advertising, and that's a mistake. Sit down and read some courses on anything. For example, you crochet and make children's toys. Go to websites selling handmade toys and read the descriptions. Someone has already sat down and written that ad. Sometimes it's useless, but sometimes you can take 2 or 3 points to understand the value of your services. Learn to advertise by studying other people's advertising. That's very important. Next, once you learn how to sell something to one person, one service, or one piece of knowledge, you should ask yourself the next question: how can I create more value for a larger number of people? Not just for one person, but for many. There was a time when I was selling my consultation to one person, and then I started thinking, how long can I keep doing this? Generally, anything done in small quantities should eventually be very expensive if it's done well. For example, a manicurist can't do a manicure for me and 3 other women at the same time. Their hourly income is strictly limited. If you've learned how to sell a manicure, now think about how to make it so that 4 people are getting manicures at once. You need to create value so that the clients you attract come specifically to you. For example, your unique selling point could be individual toolkits for each client, ensuring that diseases like hepatitis, syphilis, and others are not transmitted through manicures. Many people don't think about this, but you can make money from it. If a client has their own manicure and pedicure kit, that's already a level up because it's nearly impossible to disinfect tools to a perfect state. This could be your unique selling point. You could even give lectures on this. In general, you need to create a large influx of people that will gradually increase first 3 people, then 5, then 10, then 20, and someday 100. Let me give you an example of why many people struggle to make money. They place ads on social media in the form of posts, and they even take the risk, muster up the courage, and do a live stream that exactly 2 people watch. Now imagine you have a store. No, not even you, there's just a store, and in its window are 3 dresses. How many thousands or hundreds of people, depending on the city, need to pass by that store and notice those dresses for even a tiny percentage of them to be interested? On average, the conversion rate, that is, the percentage of people who go from seeing something to becoming interested, is about 1.5%. Imagine how many people need to see those dresses for 1.5% of them to enter the store. About 1,000 people need to pass by for 15 to enter, and of those, only 1.5% will actually buy something. At most, 3 people. People don't realize that 1,500 people need to pass by the store for 3 to buy something, and they think, I've done so much. I posted on social media, told my neighbors, put up flyers in the building. But very few people found out about it. That's the first reason. The second reason is that it was done poorly. When I see how people advertise their services or products with phrases like, we have everything good, beautiful, and high quality, come by, it's just a collection of empty words. It's like saying, you're beautiful. But you could highlight uniqueness. You have perfectly shaped lips, thick hair, a beautiful chestnut hue. A well-crafted compliment emphasizes a special quality, while just saying you're beautiful is poor speech. I would recommend taking an interest in a thesaurus. Sit down and every day try to praise something by finding its uniqueness. For example, Joe Vitale once shared a story at his seminar about how he had a breakthrough in his life. He said he wanted to start making money, but no one was interested in his books and seminars. So, he went to a training course to learn how to sell what he was good at, but what no one was buying. They gave him an assignment to write a sales pitch for a simple pencil. He went home, looked at the pencil, and thought, how can this be sold? It's just a pencil, everyone has one, what's its value? Here's the difference between a wealth mindset and a poverty mindset. Poverty is a limited vocabulary, and lack of gratitude. Wealth is seeing many perspectives. I once heard the phrase, the devil is monotonous, God is multifaceted. So, when you fall into the mindset of no one needs anything, that's monotony. Someone does need something, just figure out how to make those people who drive Mercedes want your services and products. Let's go back to Joe Vitale. He stared at the pencil for an hour, and his imagination was silent. Then he thought, what can I do with this pencil? I can write a love letter with gratitude. Great. The pencil gives me the ability to write a love letter. I can write a will before I die. The pencil allows me to do that. And I got involved. I can write a will. I can write a thank you note. I can confess my love. I can draw a bird outside my window. And suddenly I realized that the pencil is a magic wand, a tool that gives me thousands of possibilities. I can erase my will. I can erase some words and rewrite them. This is a great creation. If you look not just at an object but at one of your abilities, like your skill in making dumplings and your love for it, the problem isn't in making money or the fear of failure. It's that you initially don't see your resource. You can't describe it in words. You expect others to come and realize how talented and great you are and give you money because of your talent. But that's not how it works. If we're talking about awareness, we're talking about confidently stepping into society and being able to explain the value of your product, service, or skill. And even if people question the quality of your product, your skill, or say, how much, you can calmly respond. The reason many people struggle with making money is because they don't understand the sheer scale required for success, nor do they realize the importance of clearly communicating the unique value of what they offer. If you can't articulate what makes your product or service special, you're relying on others to see it for themselves, which is unrealistic. To succeed, you need to embrace your ability to express the worth of what you provide and be prepared to defend that value against skepticism. Why calmly? Because you've rehearsed it 50 times before. But if you went live, had 2 viewers, and with a trembling voice mumbled some nonsense about what you're selling, expecting some kind of huge reward, then you're acting irrationally. You need to understand that if the idea of appearing in public causes you to shake, your hands tremble, and your heart races, it means you have a very low tolerance for being noticed. By the way, live broadcasts are a huge indicator. The more afraid you are of going live and being noticed by acquaintances, the more afraid you are of money. If your fear is at a 10 out of 10, well, that means you're a potential beggar at a 10 out of 10. If your fear is at a 3, then you're 70% ready to put yourself out there. There's another category: confident failures. These are people who are afraid of being noticed but still go live and confidently say something, not because they value themselves, but because they're ignoring their fear. But the fear is still there. I'm all for taking a mentally healthy path. Sure, sometimes you have to overcome some nervousness. I haven't always been confident in my actions, but I never ignored my feelings. If I realized that I couldn't clearly explain the function of my trainings, my posts, or my consultations, if I didn't understand it myself and couldn't break it down into parts, how could someone who's not competent, who didn't study with me, and who doesn't know about the magical power of psychotherapy, psychology, mentoring, and motivation, understand it? It's like a woman who doesn't love herself, thinks she's ugly, poorly dressed, with messy hair and cranky kids, but expects a prince to see beauty in her ugliness. He'll lift her like Cinderella out of the dirt, put her in a beautiful dress, open a beauty salon for her, and she, not seeing herself as beautiful, will agree to marry him. And in the end, she'll be dissatisfied with everything while he tries to inspire her. It's absurd. If you think you're ugly, people will only come to take advantage of you. Because if you're ugly, you must be useful. For example, they might borrow money from you or get free sex. But no one will love you. Like attracts like. If your internal attitude toward yourself doesn't change, nothing will change. It changes through working on yourself. Even the most unattractive woman has beautiful features that need to be highlighted. Even the least attractive woman can change something. Go to a second-hand store, buy a different shirt on a stylist's recommendation. The very act of starting to take action is already awareness. You're not just sitting and thinking about it, you're acting. The next key to success is active effort. I want to emphasize that just visualizing is not enough, and some people don't even visualize a better life. As soon as you start working on yourself, let's say you've acknowledged, I want to sell. The next step is active effort. You start a live broadcast on social media, go through that fear, and talk about something, even if it's awkward, poorly done, whatever. Talk about what you do well. Don't sell yet. Then you do it again. A second, third, fourth, fifth, and 18th time, and believe me, by the 18th time, your fear will have decreased. At that point, you're doing psychological stretching. You're learning to be noticed and adapting to the fact that some people might say nasty things, but it doesn't destroy you. Some might praise you, and you can handle it. People are afraid not only of negative comments but also of positive ones. We all want to be not too noticeable, but still have blessings rain down on us. But it doesn't work that way, so active effort is a must. Why don't I like recommending reading lists? Because, in my experience, people don't do what's recommended in books. I've just outlined a few very practical points. Don't judge, don't make excuses, don't complain. But these need to be acted upon, not just read about 500 times. If you don't act, there's no active effort, and all that knowledge is dead. It just roams around your body looking for a way out. If we don't use knowledge, the knowledge uses us, and a kind of intoxication happens. There's a lot of information in your head, but at the level of feelings and actions, nothing is happening. Life isn't in fantasies or thoughts, life is in actions. After you describe the value of your service, product, or appearance, you need to write something every day, record something every day. The next step is to think about how to scale this. For example, if I consider myself a beautiful woman, and 2 people whom I've hinted to or complimented in the presence of others have noticed this, how can I scale it? For instance, I could do a home photo shoot, post it on social media, and apply a filter. The goal is to capture a larger audience. If you've detailed why your borscht is amazing, how to turn it into a service, and even sold it once, understand that many clients come only once, solve their problem, and leave. How do you stay on their radar? When it comes to sales, we can't escape the need to remind people about ourselves. Let me give you an example. McDonald's is a well-known company. Everyone knows McDonald's. I see lines of cars wanting to get this food. McDonald's is globally recognized. There isn't a person who hasn't heard of this chain. Yet, they constantly advertise. Why? Because they remind people about themselves. So, of course, when it comes to sales, a free opportunity that we should thank Zuckerberg and everyone around him for every day is social media. On social media, you start doing something to make people want to follow you. This won't give immediate results because social media is currently overloaded with content, including low-quality content. But it's like in the jungle, the more active you are, the more meat you get. Those who sit and are shy, unsure in the corner will be hungry animals today. And I'm not ashamed to win a piece of meat from one another. We are social animals and continue to play this game. Social media just shows this: some pages get many likes, some get few. This is a format for feedback, and we don't like receiving feedback. We'll discuss this separately. At this stage of active activity, you should already start asking yourself, how do I extend my relationships with clients? How will I remind people about myself? The ideal funnel I see is that you attract people, for example, on social media with photos, videos, likes, and posts. You do something useful, post your own or someone else's content, show your lifestyle. I'm for integrating any product into the quality of your life. For example, if I sell bicycles, I post videos on tricks that can be done on bikes, how others do them. And here I am again with my family, riding a bike. We never sell a product if we are smart and strategically thinking people. We sell the culture of consuming the product. I spent about 6 years developing a culture of consuming psychological services so that the word psychologist wouldn't scare people. I conducted many free lectures and seminars explaining what a psychologist is and the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist. I did this in various European countries. That's why I can fill halls, and this was before social media. I want to emphasize this: I personally visited, and we invested the small amount of money we had. I remember going to employment exchanges in Tallinn and talking about psychology and personal growth groups. It caused me so much protest. Why should I be telling this to unemployed people? But my manager insisted, and it turned out that many wealthy people study at the employment exchange. They go there because they offer quality courses, and they can afford it. So why not? Yes, for free. Yes, they don't work, they are millionaires' wives. I clearly remember that you never know where you will meet a client. These prejudices destroy us. Several very serious clients came to me precisely from free courses at the employment exchange, where I didn't even place bets. Therefore, to sell well, you either have to do something that no one else does and communicate why you are unique in this, or do something better than everyone else and state why you are one of the best. Prove this to yourself. For example, your husband married you because he thought you were one of the best. Maybe he was wrong, but that's what he thought. You created this feeling you are the best for him, at least. If you were one of the worst, you probably wouldn't have had sex. And the third point: do something unique, do it better than anyone else, or tie it into some context. For example, when you go to a store and find shoes already matched with a suit, you buy them as a set. When you find a partner, and these two services or functions are interconnected, they work together and don't compete. Shoes and a skirt can't compete, even though, from a budget perspective, a person buys either the shoes or the skirt. The fourth point is responsibility. Responsibility is a form of feedback when something doesn't work out, and we tend to be upset with unclear parties, even with clients. If you couldn't convey the value of your product, couldn't be interesting, or didn't want to make another 10 attempts, the client isn't to blame. Moreover, when you don't buy something, you don't get upset with yourself. You enter a store, everything looks nice, but you don't want to buy anything, and you leave without a purchase. That's normal. But some people buy out of pity for the seller, and this should be avoided. You shouldn't buy something out of a sense of awkwardness. You should buy because the item evokes euphoria. Awkwardness is created by ineffective sellers, and an item bought with such feelings will bring you failure. It devalues the money and effort you spent earning it. So, buy with inspiration, or not at all. Now I want to talk about the rules of money. We discussed sales in detail, and now Joe Vitale's rules of money will help you understand more about how money works on a mental, spiritual, and philosophical level. The practical recommendations I've given will work even better in your life. So, I remind you to sit down and describe your product or service in detail, for several days in a row, until you fall in love with the advantages of what you do and how you do it. The second step is active engagement. Announce it, tell acquaintances, friends on social media, manage your fears and anxieties, and keep doing. The third step is to look at the results and take responsibility. The principle of 100% responsibility means that, no matter what happens, you are the creator, not the president or the weather. Here I want to add another point: a plan B. What will you do if everything doesn't go as you expected? Many people only like plan A. I've come up with making clay mugs, and people will buy them, but what will you do if no one buys these mugs? You need to consider this not because we don't believe in ourselves, but because it's important to view the situation from another angle, from the perspective of what if everything goes wrong. This is crucial for growing in your field and moving toward pleasant and significant earnings. And for that, an emotional component is needed. It would be great to work on being in a more joyful and cheerful state, as such states enhance brain creativity. It's important to understand that this is a working scheme. Write down your strong and professional qualities, name your service, and explain why it's needed and by whom. Don't think about selling everything to everyone. A bicycle isn't needed by everyone. Someone living in a Khrushchevka doesn't need it because they have no space for it, or someone who weighs 150 kilograms also doesn't need it. We often don't see the client because we try to sell to everyone and everything. A client is a specific person you see as a prototype. When describing a service or product, imagine a specific person who could benefit from it. Write as if for them, ideally in a way that makes you want to prove to them why they need it. Now about Joe Vitale's 8 Rules of Money. When I attended his seminar, he said that we are unique with this knowledge because it isn't available anywhere else online. I hope we won't reprint it and will respect his copyright. In closed groups, he allowed discussing and presenting it as articles, but not as bumpers. So, the first rule: money loves to be spent. Money loves to be spent. This is one of the primary rules. The fear of spending money and feeling guilty is a utopian position. There's also a theory that 10% of your income should be set aside for charity or good deeds. Vitale added that you can give money not only for pain but also for joy, for dreams. Spend money in a way that makes you feel good, not out of guilt or pity. It could be for homeless dogs, a trip to see your grandmother, or any other cause you care about. The key is not to give money in a negative state. The second rule: money loves speed. If you have an idea, implement it as quickly as possible. There's a rule of 37 seconds. If an idea comes to mind, but you don't write it down and develop a plan within 37 seconds, it may be taken by someone else. Money loves speed, so if an idea arises, act on it quickly. The third rule: money loves ideas. We should think like entrepreneurs who see opportunities even in problems. When you hear about people's problems, think about how you could solve them. For example, that's how the Uber system was created. An entrepreneur who couldn't reach a taxi driver and didn't know where their car was thought of an app that would show the car's location. The fourth rule: money loves relationships. We should invest 20 to 30% of our efforts into networking and building partnerships. Opportunities and ideas come through people. The fifth rule: money loves to be valued. Pay for products or services with gratitude, even if they are not perfect. Don't create a situation where you'll be unhappy with the payment and, consequently, attract negativity. The sixth rule: money loves passion. Money loves it when you do what you love. It shouldn't come through suffering. It's important to do what you love and earn from it, even if it's a small part of your income. The seventh rule: money loves feedback. Failures do not exist, there is only feedback. If something doesn't work out, it's an opportunity to understand what can be improved. I remember how I failed to sell jackets at a market due to mismatched audience. It was a lesson and feedback. The eighth rule: money loves purpose or destiny. Money comes for specific goals. Many people want to earn a certain amount just for the sake of it, but if you have a goal to earn for an apartment, a car, a vacation, money will come for that purpose. Clearly define your goals, and money will flow towards them. These rules helped me earn enough in 6 months to buy my dream apartment, although it seemed impossible before. Even if you are successful, continue to learn and grow. Seminars and training help maintain or increase your level of success. Just because you've earned once doesn't guarantee you'll be able to do it again. Thank you for your attention. This was psychologist Natalia Kolodenko. I look forward to your results and detailed descriptions of the value of your product, knowledge, or skill. Until we meet again.